All righty. Thank you everyone for staying, and it is lovely to see faces in the pews. And it's very exciting, so thank you for being here today and coming back to St. Paul's. All right, so just a few housekeeping procedures wanted to cover off. There are 4 attendance sheets, 2 at the back, 2 at the front. We just need to have a record of who has attended so that, again, we are covering off procedural issues. Please print and write your name and then check off whether you are a member or an adherent. An adherent is someone who is passionate about the church but has not quite become a member, all right? Today's meeting, very straightforward. It won't be too long, hopefully, but the whole idea is to go over, pardon me? You know what, I'm concerned that if I hit something, I'll clear the slide off completely. Okay. Oh, do you have the slide? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Also, our votes, we need to have someone move and second them. If you are moving and seconding, please, wave and stand up and give your first and last name. We are voting similar to what we had done last year, just for efficiencies. We're voting in the negative. It's easier to count and tally. Thank you. So again, anyone who's not in favor, that's when we would ask you to raise your hand. Without overcomplicating things, our first vote will be the traditional way because we have to vote to change that, all right? If you have questions throughout today's meeting, we have microphones at the front, but Shelley Doucette, perfect, thank you, will have the wireless and she can walk it over to you as well. Now, in order for today's meeting to be properly constituted, we need a minimum quorum of 20 members. So if you are a member of St. Paul's, could you please raise your hand and Werner will count. Perfect. We have a quorum. Thank you, everyone. We can now begin the meeting. All right. You never know. All right. Wanted to quickly introduce you to council. I know that most of you know the council. We have been in our places for probably 3 years, but I wanted to take this time to also acknowledge their hard work. Council is not one person, it is a team of many, and quite frankly, I've had a team of incredibly skilled individuals, lots of strengths, lots of knowledge, and certainly experience. So for those on council, could you please stand when I say your name and remain standing? Theo Wolder, he's our past chair, our parliamentarian, our constitutional expert with sound judgment. Werner Anders, our recording secretary, who's inquisitive, informed, and asks questions for all the right reasons. Shelley Doucette, MMP chair. She's extremely quick on follow-up and will pursue any issue that she doesn't know and become extremely knowledgeable. Sue Butson, our facilitator, our well-loved face of St. Paul's extraordinaire. I just want to share a quick story, and she won't like this one. We can be in a council meeting, and it can be a little bit tense, just covering off whatever, we're discussing. On Zoom, all of a sudden, Sue's image you're looking at her, it will revert and she'll be upside down, talking about unplanned comic relief, and it is so funny. We just burst into laughter. She doesn't know what button she's pushed. We don't, but she'll continue the rest of the meeting upside down. It is cute. All right. John Challoner, trustee rep, our suave, debonair statesman that's able to cut through bureaucratic red tape and make things happen. Now, we have two individuals that are unable to attend today. Again, as Reverend Ken had mentioned, it's hockey playoffs, and these two have young families that they are right now out with hockey. Colleen McDuffie, Vice Chair. She's articulate and bright and is always able to offer sound judgment. Sean Conkright, Regional Rep, who's extremely factual and cuts to the chase. Now, we also have two regional reps. The Constitution states that one attends the council meeting, and that's Sean Conkright. Our second regional rep is Jennifer Viveros. We also have Reverend Ken on council, and he's our voice of reason. So this is your team. They've taken their pledge very seriously and are committed to the responsibility of ensuring the well-being of St. Paul's. Thank you to all of you. Thank you. All right, so moving on to the first order of business, we have a motion 2201 that the following procedural motion be approved. So this is where we want to vote in the negative, with this particular vote, but we have to vote if you're in favor to raise your hand. So if I can have, Helen, thank you. So she's already on the ball, she's waving. Ellen Allison has moved the vote. And do we have a seconder? Wendy Hodgins, thank you so much. Now, I'll ask the question that the following procedural motion to vote in the negative be approved. Raise your hands if you are in favor of this motion. Carried. Perfect. Thank you. Now, the next procedural motion, there's 4 parts to it, just for efficiencies. Number 1 is to elect Werner Anders as recording secretary. If you don't elect him, then you have to do it, all right? The second one will be to grant voting privileges to adherents. The third motion is to adopt the proposed agenda. The fourth one is to approve the minutes of the April 18th, 2021 AGM. So those 4 have been lumped into one motion, and it's 2202. Do I have someone that would like to move? Okay, Karen Davidson, thank you. And a seconder? Oh, sorry, I have a couple. Oh, Sherry Cameron, thank you. All right. So again, raise your hand if you're not in favor of accepting the procedural motions that I'm putting forth. Raise your hand. All right. Motion carried. Thank you. Werner, you're on deck for being the recording secretary. So last year, which is 2021, sadly we lost 6 members from the St. Paul's community. Helen Guardhouse, Ruth Ford, Mary McDuffie, Helen Ho, Ed Ramsbottom, and Nancy Sutherland. Please bow your head in a moment of silence. They are never forgotten, and they are always in our hearts. Amen. On a happy note, we were able to confirm 7 young adults in November. These young adults each received a special Bible and a COVID-19 mask that they'll forever remember. So the individuals that were confirmed: Rosie Burr, Elijah Calera, Sarah Calerja, Justin Casano, Sabrina Clappa, Nate Herdman, and Caitlin Viveros. Very exciting. Now, in 2021, we did not have any weddings that were officiated, but if any of you are sitting beside a single person, prod them, because we want to see them up here for 2022, all right? We had a baptism by Sam Easter. All right. So in the annual report that was sent out twice, it was sent out the second time on Friday with an updated Board of Trustees reports, but also the financials. So again, in the AGM that was sent out, starting on page 12 through to 38 are all committee reports. So just for those that don't know, as chair, it's our responsibility to ensure that we give a written summation of what has happened in the past year. So all the committee reports have been contained in the 2021 annual report. I trust that everyone has read them. We're not going to go through page by page, but I will need a motion, or I will put forth a motion to receive the written reports as documented in the annual general report. Do I have, oh, Sue, thank you. She's moved, and a seconder. Peter Anderson, thank you. Any discussion? All right. Anyone not in favor of the motion? All right, carried. Thank you. I'm now going to hand the floor over to Theo, and he'll be covering off the nominations and the elections for this coming year.
As the immediate past chair of council, it is my pleasure and responsibility to conduct the elections of members of council and trustees for those positions that require elections this year. Some council members were elected last year for the terms ending in 2023 and 2024. Shelley Doucette was elected last year as chair of M&P until 2024. Sue Butson, who had the double responsibility as the facilitator of both the Community and Spiritual Life Circle and the Infrastructure and Finance Circle, has resigned her position as facilitator of the Infrastructure and Finance Circle this year to allow another member to fill that position. The council positions to be filled at this meeting are therefore as follows. Chair of Council to be elected for 1 year until 2023. A secretary to be elected for 1 year until 2023, treasurer to be elected for 1 year until 2023, facilitator of infrastructure and finance elected for a 1 year remaining on the 2-year term until 2023, and a facilitator of community and spiritual life elected for a 2-year term until 2024, plus 2 representatives to Horseshoe Falls Regional Council who are elected for a 2-year term until 2024. At this meeting, Sue Butson, representing the nominating committee, will place names into nomination for election. Nominations may also be received from the floor as part of the election process. I will now call for nominations for the position of Chair of Church Council. Sue?
On behalf of the nominating committee, I wish to report that John Challoner has been duly nominated and seconded and has agreed to accept the nomination as Chair of Church Council.
Hearing that nomination, are there any further nominations for the position of Chair of Church Council? As I indicated, nominations may be received and can be received from the floor. For the last time, are there any further nominations for the position of Chair of Church Council? Hearing none, I hereby declare that the nominations are closed and that John Challoner is hereby duly elected as Chair of Church Council until 2023 by acclamation. Congratulations, John, and thank you for your hard work. I will now call for nominations for the position of Secretary of Church Council. Sue?
The nominating committee reports that Werner Anders has been duly nominated and seconded and has agreed to accept the nomination.
Are there any further nominations for the position of Secretary? For the last time, are there any further nominations for the position of Secretary? Hearing none, I hereby declare that nominations are closed and that Werner Anders is hereby re-elected as Secretary of Church Council until 2023. Thank you, Werner, for again taking on this responsibility. I will now call for nominations for the position of Vice Chair of Church Council.
I feel like I'm at the Oscars.
Without the slap, though.
Yeah, I'm watching.
No physical violence here.
Oh, okay, got it. The nominating committee reports that Colleen McDuffie has been duly nominated and seconded and has agreed to accept the nomination as Vice Chair of Church Council.
Thank you, Sue. Are there any further nominations for the position of Vice Chair of Church Council? For the last time, are there any further nominations for the position of Vice Chair of Church Council? Hearing none, I hereby declare that nominations are closed and that Colleen McDuffie is hereby re-elected as Vice Chair of Church Council until 2023. Since she is not here today, I will congratulate her in absentia. I will now call for nominations for the position of Treasurer until 2023.
This is a little different. The nominating committee reports that it has not been able to secure a nomination for the position of Treasurer. Under the circumstances, if no one is elected as Treasurer, Werner Anders has agreed to continue to hold the position of acting treasurer for one more year. The nominating committee has received the written consent of Werner Adams to remain as acting treasurer.
I'm good with Werner Adams.
Okay.
I therefore now call for nominations from the floor for the position of treasurer, and it's open for anyone who really has a passion for this kind of work to be nominated. So are there any nominations for the position of treasurer? For the last time, I again call for nominations from the floor for the position of treasurer. Hearing none, I hereby declare that Werner Anders is therefore confirmed as the acting treasurer until 2023. Again, thank you, Werner, for taking on this responsibility in the absence of a full-time treasurer. I now call for nominations for the position of facilitator, infrastructure, and finance. This will be an election for the remaining year of the usual two-year term until 2023.
The nominating committee reports that Jennifer Viveros has been duly nominated and seconded and has agreed to accept the nomination as facilitator for infrastructure and finance until 2023. I have a partner.
Not yet. Are there any further nominations for the position of facilitator, infrastructure, and finance?
The slide says 2024, you're saying 2023.
Yeah, there's the 2024.
It's the,
Until 2024. It's a 3-year term.
this one is actually the remainder of the term because the former Sue Butson held that position of both facilitators. She wanted to share the responsibility this year and resign. So this is the remaining term until 2023. And then out in 2023, it'll be a 2-year election because it's a staggered term. So the election and position is until 2023. So are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, I hereby declare Jennifer Viveros duly elected. Jennifer, are you here?
Yeah.
Jennifer, would you stand up? You weren't introduced before, and now you're a member of council. Congratulations and welcome. So now I call for the nomination for the position of Facilitator, Community and Spiritual Life, which is a 2-year position until 2024.
I don't want to do this one. The nominating committee reports that Sue Butson has been duly nominated and seconded and has agreed to accept the nomination as facilitator of the Community and Spiritual Life Circle. I'm looking for any openings.
You won't get off that easy. Are there any further nominations for the position of Facilitator, Community and Spiritual Life? For the last time, are there any further nominations for the position of Facilitator of the Community and Spiritual Life Circle? Hearing none, I hereby declare that nominations are closed and that Sue Butson has been re-elected for 2 years in this position. I now call for nominations for the 2 representatives to Horseshoe Falls Regional Council. The nominating committee reports that Sean Cronkright and Jennifer Viveros have been duly nominated and have both agreed to accept their nominations as the representatives for the further 2-year period. As indicated, one of the 2 representatives sits on council, and that has been Sean Cronkright. So Jennifer Viveros had not been before today an actual attendant at church council meetings. She will be wearing her new hat today as well. But are there any further nominations for the position of representatives to the Horseshoe Falls Regional Council? For the last time, are there any further nominations for the 2 positions, representatives to Horseshoe Falls Regional Council? Hearing none, I hereby declare that Sean Cronkright and Jennifer Viveros have been duly elected and will represent the church at the Regional Council again, and they've done so well for the next 2 years. So thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Sean. This now completes the election for church council representatives. I will now conduct the election for representatives to the Board of Trustees. In accordance with the current Constitution, trustees are now elected for 5-year staggered terms. Bob McDonald was previously elected to serve as a trustee until 2024. Susan Butson and Rob Esch were previously elected to serve as trustees until 2025. Those elected this year will serve as trustees for a 5-year term until 2027. In order to be able to accept the chair of church council, which he has agreed to do, John Challoner, who had been the chair of the Board of Trustees, has withdrawn from the Board of Trustees by not seeking re-election. I will now call upon Sue Butson as the representative of the nominating committee to place into nomination the names of those seeking election or re-election to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. The nominating committee nominates the following persons who have all duly been nominated and seconded, and they've all agreed their nomination as trustees for a 5-year term until 2027. Carol Kerr, Don Clements, Jim Colson, Ivan Hunter, Theo Wolder, and Ian Dixon.
Are there any further nominations for the position of trustees? For the last time, are there any further nominations for the position of trustee? Hearing none, I hereby declare that Carol Kerr, Don Clements, Jim Colson, Ivan Hunter, Ian Dixon, and moi have been all elected to the Board of Trustees for a 5-year term until 2027. Perhaps we could have all trustees who are here today stand up and be recognized. Thank you. As a final piece of business, the Constitution of the United Church of Canada requires that anyone leaving the Board of Trustees needs to receive the permission of the congregation to do so by a 2/3 vote. This is a historical requirement because there are some financial obligations as a trustee, and if there are unresolved issues, then trustees need permission to leave. So therefore, I'm called upon Sue to move the necessary motion.
Thank you. I hereby make the following motion. Be it resolved that John Challoner and Jim Hawkins are hereby relieved from their responsibilities as trustees. Could I have a seconder? Shelley.
Shelley Doucette. Shelley, thank you for seconding that motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. We're again voting by negative option. So all those who are opposed to this motion, would you please raise your hand? Seeing no one opposed, it's unanimous and the motion is carried. John, and you are off the hook. Now, I wish to thank Sue and her nominating committee for all the hard work in securing the necessary nominations for this meeting. On one additional note, the outgoing chair of council automatically fills the position of immediate past chair of council. However, I'm sad to report that Bev has decided that she needs to step away from council next year for personal reasons, and has submitted her resignation as a continuing member of council effective immediately upon conclusion of today's annual general meeting. Therefore, I have agreed to remain on council as the immediate past chair for at least one more year in support of our incoming chair. Since this now completes the election portion of this meeting, I'm pleased to turn the chair back to our chair of council, Bev Wright. Bev.
As facilitator, I'd just like to say thank you to all the committees and all the hard work you've done. Really, really appreciate it. And Jim Hawkins, thank you. We're going to miss your wisdom on trustees, and I haven't a hope of getting it nearly as much wisdom as you have. But we'll work on it, okay? Thank you.
Okay, filling committees for 2022/23 has been a bit of a challenge. Again, we haven't been fully operational the last few years, so there are a few gaps. So what was initially printed in the annual report, some individuals have kindly stepped up to fill that void. There are still gaps, so again, we will continue to evolve the committees, but as it stands, as of this particular moment, the members of the 2022-23 committees are for Infrastructure and Finance under Jennifer Viveros, Finance, Werner Anders as chair, David McDuffie, John Challoner, Ian Dixon, and Theo Wolder. For Mission and Outreach, we have Peter Anderson chair, Joanne Dundas, Karen Tyre, Val Ewing, and Shelley Woodcock. Property, Brent Tyre as chair, Karen Tyre, Ian Hunter, Sue Paul, Ivan, not you, Ivan Hunter, Sue Paul, Floyd Paul, Peter Anderson, Sue Butson, and Matt Rye. Under the Community and Spiritual Life branch, spearheaded by Sue Butson, we have Don Cassano for worship, Sherry Cameron, Peter Anderson, Sharon Pyle, Joe McDuffie, and Aaron Esch for the worship committee. Annex, we have Leslie Fraser, Stephen Hurley, Angie Herdman, and Aaron Esch. Communications, John Challoner as chair, Marlene Grimwood, Ann Troke, Sharon Pyle, Sandra Shore, and Jennifer Viveros. For FET, we have Sue Butson as chair, Karen Tyre, Joe McNuffie, and Carol Kerr. Membership, Sue Butson as chair, Cassie Smith, Carol Kerr, Karen Tyre, and John Challoner. MMP, we have Shelley Doucette as chair, Karen Davidson, Leslie Koretz, and Angie Herdman. Continuing with the community and spiritual life, pastoral care prayer team, Joe McDuffie, chair, Sharon Pyle, Marilyn Pickett, Carol Hyde, Susan Burr, Shelley Hall Stavroff, Mary Fraser, Judy Rye, and Noreen Blank. Just wanted to call out to this team. They are truly a behind-the-scenes team that many of us do not realize the inner workings that they do. They are reaching out to many members, providing incredible spiritual support, and I just want to acknowledge their hard work. We also have, for UCW, Carol Kerr as chair. So the motion of 2207 to accept the individuals that I've just read and appointed to serve as members of the named committees and subcommittees. Do I have someone that would move? Caitlin Viveros, thank you. Seconder? Do I have a... Shelley Doucette, thank you. Is anyone not in favor of the names that I've read out? Okay. Vote carried. So quite often the committees, most of them have chairs, some don't have chairs. So what we require is that going forward at the first meeting, if that be settled so that there is at least a team lead and recording secretary, all right? Okay, I'm going to hand over the floor next to Werner Anders, and I just want to welcome Melissa Colson here, and she will be presenting our 2021 financials. All right, come on up, thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Good morning, everyone. Before I hand the floor over to Melissa Colson, I just want to take a moment to thank the members of the Finance Committee. John Challoner, Paul Anthony, David McDuffie, Ian Dixon, and Theo Wolder. Thank you for working with me this past year, for your support and your guidance. Certainly a pleasure to work with all of you. To put together an audit, as Melissa can tell you, requires a lot of gathering of information and details and answering of questions. So a particular shout out to John Challoner for his leadership in pulling everything together, to Emmy for her support from an administrative perspective, and as well to Shelley for getting additional information as needed. So thank you to the team for doing what they need to do so that Melissa and her team can do what they need to do. So at this point, I'd like to hand the floor over to Melissa Colson.
Thanks so much, Werner. Good afternoon, everybody. I think this is the very first time I've presented the audited financial statements in your sanctuary, so thank you for having me. This is a beautiful space, and it has a lot more character than the hall across the street there, or across the hallway there. I'm here to present your December 31st, 2021 audited financial statements. I went through these financial statements with your council just this past week in a lot of detail, and I could stand here and talk about financial statements for a very long period of time, but I recognize that we probably have other things that we would like to do on our Sunday. So I'm going to go through these just in a very high level and highlight a few items for 2021, and then I'll open up the floor to any questions that anybody might have on these statements. So the first point of order for your 2021 financial statements is your independent auditor's report. And that audit report for 2021 is a clean audit opinion. So you as a congregation are happy to know that you received a, quote, clean bill of health from the auditor on these particular financial statements. Do we have the audited financial statements? Yeah.
We did email them out.
They're in the package? Okay.
They were emailed out on Friday.
So they're part of your package, your AGM package. So apologies that we can't get them up here on the screen to walk through them. Okay, so then I'll make this very high level so as not to throw too many numbers at everybody. At the end of December, the organization has a balance sheet, and what that balance sheet shows is what the organization has in terms of assets, what the organization owes in terms of liabilities, and then the cumulative surpluses and shortfalls of the organization since its inception. At the end of 2021, the organization had about $3.9 million worth of assets, of which the majority of the assets are this glorious building that you're sitting in here. In terms of liabilities, the organization had about $800,000 worth of liabilities, and the biggest liability is the mortgage that you have on this large, beautiful building that we're currently sitting in. And then the fund balances of the organization are showing that for 2021, the church experienced a shortfall of about $21,000 in terms of its revenue over its expenses. However, that shortfall is predominantly because of the amortization of this great big beautiful building. On a cash basis, the organization actually experienced a surplus. So you did have some more revenue come in the door than you had expenditures for last year, which is wonderful. And the types of expenditures that you had were very similar to what you would have experienced in 2020. Obviously, with the pandemic happening, this is a very wonderful result because there's a lot of organizations that have not been experiencing surpluses because of everything that's been taking place over the last couple of years. The notes to the financial statements and other details, again, they're in your package. What I did want to highlight was that there isn't anything in those notes that were new or different for this current year. There were no new any accounting policy changes or anything significant that needed to take place with regards to the finances for St. Paul's for 2021. So with that, and with apologies.
Okay, I've got
Oh, look, we have them now. Okay.
Where would you like to?
Let's go to the balance sheet. Right there. Okay, so these are the assets that we spoke of. So this is where you've got your total church assets of about 3.9 million, of which the majority of the assets are, again, this big, beautiful building. The liabilities, of course, everybody and anybody that you owed money to at that particular point in time, including your mortgage, and that totaled about $800,000. The next page is the meat and potatoes of what took place over 2021. So you can see that your revenue was at $395,000 as compared to $379,000 in 2020. And your total expenses were $417,000 as compared to $452,000. And your biggest expense from an accounting perspective is this thing called amortization, which is the gradual write-down of this big, beautiful building. So the overall net results were a shortfall of $21,000, as mentioned, versus a shortfall of $72,000 in the previous year. And the main reason for that, of course, is just the amortization. When you look at this very first column that has all of the numbers in it, that's your day-to-day operations of the organization, and that actually experienced a surplus of about $81,000 for the year. So overall, as mentioned, this is an excellent result given the circumstances that everybody faced in 2021. I think with that, I'll open it up to any questions that anybody might have on your financial statements or the audit, because again, I could stand here forever. Okay, hearing none, I'll pass it back to Werner. Thank you very much, everybody.
Give me a moment while I try and piece this back together again. Okay, at this point, I would like to make a motion to accept the audited financial statements as presented by Melissa Coulson. Can I have a seconder? In the back, can you state your name? Helen Ellison. Okay, and then we're going to call for a vote, and again, voting by dissension. Any votes against? Okay, having not seen any, this motion is carried. Thank you. Yes. I need my notes. Okay, there we are. Okay, before discussing our budget for 2022, just want to take a moment to speak about how 2021 turned out from a financial position. You may recall that last year we approved a budget, a deficit budget, which was not something that many of us were necessarily comfortable with, however, something that we felt was necessary due to the situation. I am pleased to share with you, however, that we never once needed to borrow from our line of credit throughout the year. And this is a testament to a number of things that I would like to go over. So first of all, our expenses were down due to not having a full-time minister during the summer months. So that's one point. And then on the revenue side, we were fortunate to receive more than we expected from rentals as we saw things start to open up in the fall months. And we had tenants that were willing and able to start to use our building again, our facility. So we actually ended up getting more rental revenue than we expected. And as well, a testament to you, the members, for stepping up and donating, making more donations than we had expected as well. So, those things combined allowed us to have what I would say was a successful year from a financial perspective compared to what we were projecting at this point last year. Now, as we move in looking ahead to the 2022 budget, want to first of all thank the chairs of the various committees as well as the committees themselves for bringing forth the information needed to put together a budget. And I want to call it a few things that you're going to see on the screen here. So, first of all, on the revenue side, we're expecting and continue to hope for an increase in rental revenue. Fingers crossed. Things can continue to open up and we can continue to have tenants in the building. However, similarly with, more in-person church services, we are also hopeful too that we'll start to see donations also creep up similarly to what we saw last year, but hopefully even more this year. On the expense side, our staffing expenses should go up moderately as we anticipate the eventual hiring of a new full-time minister. As well, we hope to fill a current job opening with the departure of Alicia Griffin as facilities coordinator. And perhaps as we move forward, we'll be looking to fill roles in music leadership in the annex and maybe a Sunday school leader as well. This budget is accommodating for all of these positions, even though at this point, those are positions that are not filled. This budget also, you'll notice, reflects the fact that trustees have $24,000 available for capital projects. So you're going to see that on the income side as well as on the expense side. So these are projects that we hope to undertake this coming year. And so that will be dollars in and dollars out as far as an operating position. The projects in particular are repairs to the rose window and brick repointing. Under finance, it may look like we are adding an additional $6,000. That is not true. It's just repositioning the money. Those dollars used to be under miscellaneous. They're now more appropriately under finance, and that is the cost roughly for the audit process. So that is not a new expense. It's just something that we're now moving to a more appropriate space. As for our mortgage, I'm pleased to share that due to anonymous donations and donations from the trustees, we were fortunate to make additional prepayments of $18,500. And so as of the end of 2021, our mortgage was $792,835. So overall, this budget predicts a small surplus at the end of the year. I apologize, it's not showing the bottom line on the screenshot that you can see here, but effectively we're looking at about an $8,000 surplus, okay, as far as the budget. So after you take the revenue and then subtract the expenses. So at this point, before I open the floor to questions, I will like to make a motion to approve the budget as presented and as approved by council back in January. Do I have a seconder? John Challoner. Okay, and then I'd like to open the floor for discussion and any questions.
I have a question. So you were talking about probably hiring more people. Is that included in this budget or not?
The hiring of people.
Yes.
Okay, so the question was the fact that we are looking to hire additional people and whether or not it's included in this budget, and the answer is yes, it is. And in fact, I would say we're in a positive position because the budget assumed that we would have already hired certain people at this point, and we have not yet, just due to the interview process and not being able to find the correct or the candidates that are best fit for us. So we actually are going to be in a positive position as far as expenses with regards to employees. Sure.
When is the mortgage up for renewal?
I believe that's in 2 years. Yeah, two more years.
And what's the interest rate now? Oh, 3.25.
Good question.
I read it was 3.25. 3.95? Okay, thanks, Don.
Thank you, Dawn.
Can we please ask that people use the microphone so that we can hear the question?
I finished.
If anyone has any further questions, please use the microphone. So Don Clements, I believe, said that it was 3.95% and it's a fixed rate. So the fact that interest rates are potentially climbing as the year goes on, that shouldn't have an impact on our mortgage. Okay, so not seeing any other questions at this point, I'd like to call the vote. So again, it's a vote on the negative side. So if you would like to vote against, this is your chance to do so. Okay, having not seen any votes against, this budget has now been approved. Thank you. And before I give the floor back to Beverly, just want to thank Melissa Coulson and her office for the work that they've done on completing the audit. We do our best to get the information to them in a timely manner, but that can be challenging as well. So I know that they've had to put in some extra effort at times to make sure that we get it here and done on time, including a meeting late last Thursday for Council and Finance to have their eyes on it to be able to approve it prior to this meeting. So thank you to Melissa and her office as well. Yes. Okay. Yep. Awfully forgetful here. Thank you, Beverly. Okay, one more motion to make, and that is, of course, we would like to have our statements audited once again next year. So in this case, the motion is to approve the appointment of Melissa Coulson and her office to perform the audit next year. So can I have a mover for that? Okay, Brent? And seconder? Sorry, state your name. Linda. Okay, so moved by Brent and seconded by Linda. And again, I'd like to offer an opportunity for you to vote in the negative. Okay, having seen not any votes in the negative and dissension, this motion has been carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Werner. If I can have Ellen Ellison come up and provide an update on the search team, please. watch the graves.
Good morning, afternoon, or whatever it happens to be. I feel kind of like the Academy Awards. I hope I'm not on a timeline and I don't get the hook here. But anyway, here goes. So today I've been asked to give an update on the progress we're making towards our goal of finding a new solo minister for St. Paul's. I'd like to thank Bev Wright, the outgoing chair of council, for putting together this eclectic, diligent, and thoroughly hardworking team and entrusting us with the task of finding a new minister after such a challenging 2 years. Please stand if you're able or are here to be acknowledged today. Stephen Hurley, chair of our committee, Tim Zumlansky, Jim Colson, Angie Herdman, Sharon Pyle, Val Ewan, Jennifer Viveros, Caitlin Viveros, and myself. The job has been rewarding, challenging, enlightening, and very sobering at times. The list of suitable candidates on Church Hub hasn't exactly been robust, and the cost of housing and relocation to this area is a definite strike against us. There also appears to be less movement, even in the Horseshoe Falls region in which we fall, than in the past, with many ministers opting to stay within close proximity to their current placements. We've been meeting each Saturday via Zoom since the end of January, having conducted several remote online interviews, as well as 2 in-person second interviews with candidates of interests. In between meetings, we've mined profiles and resumes on Church Hub, made contact with persons of interest, inviting them to apply to us directly, and watched countless online services to help us better understand a candidate's qualities, strengths, and talents that fit with the congregation-approved living faith story, which has acted as a roadmap during our deliberations. Yesterday, after a marathon meeting where everyone shared their thoughts in an engaged, informed, and respectful forum, we reached a consensus to begin negotiations with one of our 2 strong contenders. This will take time, as there is a very specified process to follow, as outlined in the United Church of Canada Manual, which obligates a minister to give 90 days' notice to their present congregation, among other procedures. So that is all I can share with you at this time about the candidate. However, I'd like to encourage everyone here or watching from home to use this time to revisit the living faith story and to reflect on how each one of us can welcome and support a new minister. It will take many hands and much work to support this person, and we must avoid being complacent and expecting a new person to do it all. And that is a direct quote from one of the people that we interviewed. It is understood that people have busy lives and they have work commitments and other commitments. But if you let others in the congregation who are involved know that what your availability is and the timeline that you are available, we'd like to invite you to get involved in some way, shape, or form. Each one of us can do something to help the support of a new minister and the work of this church. I'm sorry this is a bit garbled, but my editor up there, Jennifer, made some last-minute changes and I was scribbling notes. Thank you, Caitlin. What has been clear throughout our discussion and interviews is that our job description is already dated, giving the impression that there is a support team for annex music leadership, a Sunday school coordinator, and fully manned and functioning committees with experienced chairs at the helm. We know that this is no longer true in some cases, and if we truly want to thrive and grow while remaining true to our roots, we'll have to all step up and do our part. It won't be easy to be courageous, to get involved, or to try new ways of doing things, but we must. I apologize for taking up so much of your time, but these thoughts come from listening, questioning, and facing current realities. As for opening the final envelope, we'll keep you posted.
Thank you, Ellen. Again, just to echo her comments, that team has worked tirelessly, to really ensure that they're representing St. Paul's, putting together really the current situation to incumbents and to the candidates. And I think that they have honestly run this to the ground, have dotted the I's, crossed the T's. So a big hand to them again. Great work. All right, we're almost there. Just before I forget, just a little something from me to each of you. I had ordered little buttons that there's bowls at each entrance over here, and then one right at the back behind Sharon. They're just little buttons, and again, it's just a token from me to each of you, and it just says, be the change that you would like to see in the world. And it's just, to me, resonates. It's a Gandhi quote, and please take one. So, as outgoing chair, I would like to thank all of you for your incredible support, your encouragement, and your passion for St. Paul's. It honestly has been an incredible learning experience for me, but one that I've highly, highly valued. Being able to serve St. Paul's and lead our church at this pivotal time, these past few years, has been challenging, but rewarding. So going forward, you will be continued to be led by individuals who want to see St. Paul's flourish. That's all of us want. The next chapter will be exciting. Let's be that church that walks the talk, that opens our doors with faith and love, and people will want to be a part of that community that embraces everyone with honor, integrity, and the love of God. John, welcome as Chair of Council.
What do you do after that introduction? Anyways, on behalf of the members of St. Paul's United Church and the members of Church Council, I wish to thank Bev for shepherding us through the most difficult, arguably 2 years in the history of our institution. As Bev indicated, we still have many challenges ahead, but we're in a better place today than we have been in the last couple of years. Certainly 2 years ago. I also want to thank Church Council for its work supporting Bev during her tenure. As she indicated, it was all hands on deck. A lot of you know the challenges that we faced. You were there with us to answer the call, and that's highly appreciated. I can tell you that all the members of Church Council during the last 2 years agreed to extend their terms, stay beyond their appointments, because they knew how important the job was. And I can tell you that this was also the case with the committees. Many of the members of our committees, again, extended their appointments, stayed on, because they knew the challenge that we faced and the work that had to be done. And that speaks well to Bev. That's the kind of leadership that she provided. And I can tell you, as you look through the annual report, I'm sure that most of you have not quite read it yet, but Sunday afternoon beckons and there's no football, so curl up with a coffee or a tea and read it. But you can see that very fulsome reports. A lot of these committees were active, they did not sit in their hands, and they continued to serve you and us alike. Finally, I want to thank you all for supporting my appointment as chairman of Church Council. I will work hard to be your faithful servant over the coming term. My personal priorities are threefold. One, to ensure the financial sustainability of this church. Two, to actively seek out membership for this church. And thirdly, and most importantly, to create the kind of Christian environment that you desire to have here. I will be hosting a planning session over the next 30 days with Church Council, with the Board of Trustees, with the leaders of the committees, to map out the reopening of this facility, our re-engagement with you as members, and the larger Milton community, and of course, deal with the church's pending new leadership. In closing, I want to thank a couple of people. Reverend John Smith for getting us through 2020, did a great job. I want to thank Reverend Ken McDonald for taking us the rest of the way through this journey. We're very fortunate to have been led by both these individuals. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me whenever you've got a question, a concern, a comment. I may not have the answer. I'll find it. You'll be dealt with quickly, and you'll get a fair hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, hopefully this works. Kind of exciting.
Well, that's sort of out
Okay. Good day and welcome to our single. I'm Bob McKenzie, and this is my brother Doug. Beauty, eh? Yeah, I like that. Okay. Okay, everyone. This record was my idea. Get out.
Hey, is that you, Bob?
Is that you?
Oh my gosh, that's what you look like after 2 years?
Yeah, really, you too. That's what you smell like after 2 years?
I didn't recognize you. Bye. Dear, you're in the same clothes as the last time we left off 2 years ago.
That's right, except I put on my Christmas t-shirt to celebrate Christmas by myself. And a birthday by myself. And got my nice winter socks on. They smell nice. And my shovel wore it out because I was shoveling a path to get the wood for the fireplace.
Oh man, Bob.
Oh. And what were you doing?
I've been sitting here eating away. I can't fit into my clothes. It's just, oh my gosh. But you want to know something? I found a really neat YouTube station.
No.
I've been watching something on St. Paul's United Church. Really interesting. Oh my gosh, there's a clean person coming up. Is she my cousin?
I don't know.
I have never seen anyone that clean in 2
Oh,
years.
really? She smells funny too, but good.
Oh, well, don't hit on her.
Oh, hey.
Hey, she's gone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I heard you say something about St. Paul's Church,
We did.
which is this building right here
Oh, wow.
with that beautiful rose window. If you're on the inside when the sun is shining, that stained glass is absolutely glorious. But better than that are the people within the building. This is just a really great congregation, and truly everybody is welcome. We've got music, we've got programs for kids, sermons for sure to make you contemplate and think about what you're doing with your life. People are warm and friendly, and now that the pandemic is kind of sort of over, we're getting back to food. And we've got some great cooks in there.
Oh, wow, man, does that sound really appealing? All right, what do you think there, Bob, or you done?
Whatever.
All right,
If
well,
they say food, I'm in. Do we have to shower and get dressed up?
That's entirely up to you. Truly, the doors are open to anyone coming in. You take care. It was nice to meet you.
nice
Hope
to
to see
you. All right, okay, let's clean up here and let's giddy up. I'm tired of looking at you.
Really?
Hey, shout!
Good day and welcome to our single. I'm Bob McKenzie, and this is
Reverend Ken, on the Friday email, let's include that link because it is quite comical. I just wanted to thank the ACTRA Awards, Shelley Doucette, Sue Butson, cameraman Richard Klappa. Thank you very much. So we'll email that out for sure. All right. I'm going to hand it over to Reverend Ken, who's going to close with prayer. After the prayer, we just need an adjournment because apparently last year I did not adjourn the meeting. So, all right. Yeah.
Well, let's join together in prayer. Oh God, we thank you for our congregation. We are so glad for all that you've given to us. We ask that you bless us with great hopes for the time ahead. Bless us with new leadership. Be with us in this year ahead. We give thanks for all that we are. Be with us in this time. Amen.
All right, our very last motion, motion 2211 to adjourn today's annual general meeting. Do I have someone that would like to move it? Oh, Susan Butson, all right. Carol Kerr, second. Anyone not in favor? Okay, carried. The meeting has now ended. Thank you very much for being a part of the meeting today. Thank you. Sorry? Oh, apparently there's coffee. Whoa. Okay.
You're welcome to join us for coffee if you like.